Well, thank you so much, Marcus. And hello, everyone. My name is Hector Del Castillo, Chief Product Officer at Bold PM. And it is a pleasure and honor to be here and be your keynote speaker for today. And I'm going to be talking about this particular topic, making change happen against the odds. And what we're going to be covering today is discovering how to use your project management superpowers to not only embrace change, but to lead change within your organization. And before we get started, I actually would like to give a shout out and thanks to the organizing committee for the symposium, the entire board of directors for the chapter, and the sponsors for their support. And I'm honored to be here because I've been a member of this chapter for over 15 years. And this year happens to be the 20th anniversary of the chapter. So kudos to everyone in the chapter and wish you much more continued success in everything that you do. And thanks so much for your support. So moving on a little bit about my organization, Bold PM, we inspire the next generation of product leaders to turn ideas into valuable, profitable products. We help our clients grow high-performing product teams and build the growth engine within their organization. What we're going to be discussing today is break up into these parts. We're going to discuss 5 complex problems that will change your world. We're going to discuss why adaptability, transparency, and responsiveness matter, why people resist change, and how to make your organization future ready. And hopefully we'll have a few minutes for Ask Me Anything. You can submit your questions via the chat and I can cover them either as I go or for the Ask Me Anything portion. So let's start with this question. How can you use your project management superpowers to embrace change? And with that, I want to start with this story. When I come in, it's because leaders have gone through this particular scenario where the leader has gathered everybody in the building and is asking, who wants to change? And everybody raises their hand. Great. The leader then asks the question, who wants to change? And everybody looks down. Nobody wants to make eye contact. Hands don't come up at all. How many of you are in this type of organization where anybody talks about change and nobody wants to implement or even think about making any changes whatsoever? Everybody wants to do business as usual and stay away from business unusual. And the fact is that change is the only constant in life. This is a quote from this Greek philosopher, Heraclitus, that says that change is the only constant in life. As a matter of fact, change is inevitable. So hopefully after today's discussion, all of you project managers who are afraid of change or even taking care or leading change management teams or initiatives will stop and start looking at now saying, no, we can't, and turn that into, yes, we can. So stop saying change is hard. Yes, it is hard, but ultimately it should lead to greater success on the other side of the change initiatives. And the fact is that any change can be either positive or negative. And it may often depends on your perspective, your point of view. A glass that is half filled can be either half empty or half full, depending on your perspective. Similarly, change can be negative or positive, and you don't control the change. What you can control is your attitude about the change. And the fact is that most positive change won't happen on its own. Often it takes a leader, a change maker, someone with a vision for a better future. And often you need to make sure that everybody understands that vision and that the vision is compelling enough to ensure that everybody stays on board for doing all the work that needs to be done in order for the change to actually give results. Here are companies that struggle and never really had a vision, or they struggle in implementing changes that needed to take place in order for them to be relevant. Kodak is one company. They were a leader in film, had lots of people, were a multi-billion-dollar company, and they even invented the digital technologies that replaced film in everything that we do now with the emergence of the internet and mobile devices. And Kodak imploded and nowhere near where they used to be 15, 20 years ago. BlackBerry. How many of you are carrying a BlackBerry even today? I know you're out there. And what happened to BlackBerry? Well, they never really foresaw the switch in the market of most of us migrating to the iPhone or an Android device like the Samsung smartphones. And both of those eroded BlackBerry's market, and BlackBerry imploded. Yes, they're still around, but a long ways to where they used to be. Sears is another one. We had to file for bankruptcy. And the last 5 years, they've been shutting down locations, hundreds of locations every year, and still not out of the woods. They're still losing money. Every single location is losing money. They can't get enough traffic or get enough e-commerce sales to actually have Sears become a profitable organization today. And the problem was that they never really foresaw this. As a matter of fact, thousands of locations they had, many of them, the majority of them, were locked into 99-year leases. And the only way to break out of those leases was to file for bankruptcy, restructure, and they're still right now in their turnaround plan, currently still shutting down stores across their market. These are all examples of companies that never thought about the need to adjust their business models because they thought the market was always going to be there. We're going to talk about 5 complex problems that impact your livelihood in the next few years. So number 1, we're still going through it, saving lives from COVID-19. And yes, there were bad stories. There were also great stories. Bad stories is that we all know someone, either a neighbor or a family member or a coworker, that didn't make it last year. And the great news is that vaccines were created in record time. Bad news, there are some of us that are hesitant about getting vaccinated, no matter what type of vaccine is available. And that's what we need in order for us to get back to where we were before, and even try to get our productivity back up to where it was a year ago or over a year ago. Number 2, rebuilding the US economy. Before the pandemic, China was set to become the number 1 global economy based on real GDP by 2030. Today, they're set to be the number 1 economy based on real GDP by 2025. Why? Because they were able to bounce back from the pandemic much quicker than we were. They were able to quickly shut down for a brief period of time, a couple of months, and then come back up and recover very quickly. Whereas we're still struggling today after 18 months of dealing with this pandemic. Furthermore, if you look at the economy, not just based on GDP, but the combination of GDP in combination with purchasing power parity, which was this chart that you see here, this was developed last month, published by the Visual Capitalist. And it shows that based on this, when you look at GDP in combination with the purchasing power parity, China is already the number 1 economy. Looking at this perspective, China is at $25.36 trillion in value, representing 18.6% roughly of the total world economy, whereas US is number 2 at $20.5 trillion and around 15%, just over 15% of the total global economy. And China has been rising in both GDP growth as well as their higher purchasing power compared to US, much faster than we are. trying to recover and us to recover the number one position is going to be taking a lot of effort from our side, not just increasing productivity, but also increasing our purchasing power. Hard to do when you have to deal with inflation. Number three, advancing racial equity and reducing economic inequality. You might ask, well, what are three number four so important? Well, if you're seeing this polarization that we have seen in ages in our country, and that is actually now impacting our democracy, our values from our Constitution, you're seeing a lot more violent crimes much sooner. And this is going to consist until we resolve this issue, because these are all symptoms of these two problems: economic inequality that is out there, that is widespread and increasing over time, in addition to racial equity. Number five, combating climate change. How many of us are tired of seeing in the last 18 months or so the news about rampant wildfires across all the Western US states? All of those states are in a 120-year record drought. The drought is now so severe that they're saying there's not only less water to go around for everyone, but also the ability to generate electricity has gone down by more than half, because all those hydroelectric plants don't have enough water to operate and make electricity. And now there's planned brownouts for this summer. And all these storms that have been hitting all the Gulf states, from Texas to Louisiana to Mississippi to Florida, all the way to the East Coast, and causing these floods. Claudette was the latest storm that caused flooding in states like Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and lots of destruction because of tornadoes and related events due to changing weather. And these are all things that didn't used to happen, but now because of climate change, they're happening more and more often and making the hot season even hotter than before. And the cold season in some regions, less impact, but more storms. And this is going to continue and accelerate, not slow down, before things can improve. So my question to you is, which of these problems have impacted your livelihood in the last 18 months? And my guess is that you've been impacted by maybe 3 or more of these in the last 18 months, no matter where you live. You just have to figure out what is the root cause of the symptoms that you're seeing. And these are the root causes of many of the symptoms that you're seeing right now that are impacting your livelihood today. There are 10 ways that, just as an example, 10 ways that just this COVID-19 pandemic impacts you and your teams. And here they are. Number one, you're seeing delayed or lost sales revenue within your organization. Number two, you're seeing cancellations or lost customers not coming back anytime soon. Number three, changing customer needs and priorities. Number four, changing dynamics in the way you interact with your customers or your sponsors or other stakeholders that are key to your project. Number five, disrupted or canceled projects. Number six, new project objectives and milestones. Number seven, reduce team capacity. Number eight, new remote collaboration requirements. Most of us are either working from home or working remotely nowadays. Number nine, supply chain disruptions. Number 10, changing project priorities. And this is just one of these 5 issues. So this is the reason why most organizations are saying we need to boost our resilience so we can maintain our business operations. So we're going to talk about why adaptability, transparency, and responsiveness are important to build and boost your organizational resilience. So first, the definition of business or organizational resilience. It is an organization's ability to rapidly adapt and respond to business disruptions by being able to safeguard your people and your assets while still maintaining continuous operations of your core business functions. These are all things that you want to be able to do. You want to be able to increase this over time. And if you saw in the last 6 months post COVID-19, once announced a pandemic, there was an acceleration of all these companies that had been sort of like dragging their feet into digitizing their business and actually accelerated digital transformation. And the definition of digital transformation is not just the creation of a website and the putting together a payment system that you can accept payment over the internet. It's radical rethinking of your entire organization and your business model in order to integrate the newer technology and be able to eliminate or modernize legacy systems, and then be able to still meet changing buyer behavior, increase perceived customer value, and boosting the performance of your business. These are all things that you want to do with digital transformation. And digital transformation is business transformation, which means change management. And these initiatives need to be managed, implemented. Here's why, and the state of this publication. Nassim Taleb published this book called Anti-Fragile back in 2012. And this is why most everybody is trying to figure out how to go from a robust state in their business to a resilient state. And the theoretical limit is to become anti-fragile. Now, just suffice to say that anti-fragile is just a panacea, right? There's no organization today that is anti-fragile, but everybody is trying to increase the robustness of their organization by becoming more resilient. And here's a kind of a snapshot of the difference between the fragile state, the robust state, and the anti-fragile state. Fragile state, something happens, some unforeseen force, and then your business operations are disrupted. Now you have to rebuild or restart your business. A robust business can withstand the majority of things, but there may be certain things that might actually cause it to break, even temporarily or momentarily. And that usually is business losses. You don't want that. So most organizations are right now trying to increase their ability to withstand multiple forces of different shapes and sizes and directions by becoming more resilient. And resilient is really intermediate state that is between the robust and the anti-fragile state, which is anti-fragile will be no matter what happens, you're able to bend, you're agile enough, flexible enough, adaptable enough to that no matter what happens, you can always make adjustments in how you work and still deliver the value that you're delivering as a business. And the key elements of becoming more resilient, there are 4 pillars. You have to become more adaptable, change your leadership to more participative leadership, become more responsive, and also introduce the ability to regenerate with your whatever is part key resources of your business. And we're going to expand upon each one of these. Adaptability means that you have to now shift from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset culture within your organization. And you have to also increase organizational agility. And agility, not just in the way you develop products, but across everything that you do, from your front end to your back end, to the way you're tracking your cost structures, revenue streams, and profitability of your business. And also increase the flexibility of your business, because then you're able to bend, absorb forces in different directions, in different ways, that aspects that might impact your business in the way that you're still continuing your business operations. You also want to shift from an autocratic leadership style to a participative style, really more about democratizing your business in the way the decisions get made. You're doing this by increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion within your workers. You're now decentralizing operations where decision makers are not just executives, but now you're enabling other managers to make decisions at the local level where your business operates. You become more transparent, and then you're educating constantly your workers to ensure that they know all the things that they need to do to accommodate and make substitutions when asked, and empower them to delegate and empower them to make decisions at the right level. Emphasize ethical behavior, maybe even consider shared ownership, and have different types of governance for accountability and justice. Also, you want to build the responsive pillar by increasing your sense making, increasing adaptive learning, and also increasing adaptive decision making. That means that the way you delegate decisions is going to be varying over time because you're trying to only leave key critical decisions to the executives, and then all other decisions be done by other types of managers. And then finally, the regenerative pillar, which entails having knowledge about circular economy, focus on designing new business models that are circular in nature. Circular design is a new thing, and focusing on healing people, not just your workers and your families, but everybody in the local communities where your business operates, and healing the earth as well. So there's a sustainability and social responsibility effort in this particular pillar. And all of these things are probably missing because these are newer things for most businesses. And that's what they're trying to do right now in order to actually increase the resilience of their business. So here's a summary of all four of these pillars. One company that actually is doing great, I'm going to give some success stories for some of these 5 problems that I spoke about earlier. Moderna is one of these companies that is leading the way by creating a vaccine for COVID-19. And Moderna is only 11 years old. It was founded in 2010. They actually adopted this newer technology called regenerative RNA in order to create new types of vaccines. And they started by trying to say, we're going to use the mRNA platform to build and actually create these new vaccines for these illnesses that have existed for a long time to eradicate these illnesses around the world. As soon as the COVID-19 pandemic was announced, they announced in April of last year that they were going to actually be designing a vaccine. And guess what happened to their market cap? Because they're already a public company. Their market cap since April of 2020 has been going up and up and up and up, and is still climbing up even today because of announcements that they're now designing vaccines to attack the new double variant that has been detected and is now spreading here in US, but also combining that with the flu. All of this has created more value, more perceived value, and their valuation is still climbing up even today. Analysts are saying that they're going to hit the $10 billion market cap mark before the end of 2021. And this is an example of a company that is focusing on this number one complex problem, which is saving lives during COVID-19. So how to make your organization future ready? Well, most organizations today are trying to build resilience, and they're doing so by ensuring that their organization becomes more purpose-driven, meaning it's not enough to be saying in a statement on your vision or mission or your share values or your statement of values why you're here and why you're going to focus on not just improving the lives of your customers, but also the lives of your communities where your business or organization operates. And what everybody's trying to do right now is figure out how to embed purpose into the DNA of your organization, of their organization. And that is, you want to embed it in your culture, the people, the process, align and realign your processes and systems to be able to support that, be able to shift the way you manage your entire product portfolio in order to align with that new vision of why it is and what value proposition you're delivering and to your customer segments. And then also coming up with performance metrics, the right performance metrics to measure success. And finally, positions and engagement in the way you're engaging your customers and other stakeholders that are part of the markets where you operate. And all of these 5 need to be aligned in order for you to embed your organization's purpose into your organization's DNA, your infrastructure and your structure. Here is an example of companies that are actually leading today in trying to raise the bar on diversity, equity, and inclusion. These are all recognized companies that are right now leading the way in the way most organizations are trying to catch up with them. Coca-Cola, Marriott, Johnson & Johnson, Disney. These are across industries. Marriott is hospitality. Coca-Cola is a beverage conglomerate. Disney is a media conglomerate. Johnson & Johnson is everything from consumer packaged goods to pharmaceuticals to medical devices. And they're actually multinational organizations that are based in US. They're leading the way in diversity, equity, and inclusion. Usually trying to implement any of these changes that I'm speaking about, you need to have business transformation plans, change management plans in place. And any transformation effort, whether it's digital transformation, business transformation, change management, it always starts with people. People, then process and systems are aligned, then products and the way you manage your product portfolio is also done. And that usually equates to profit. But now you're also measuring the perceived value to your delivered to your customers, and also additional value that you can deliver to the local communities where your business operates, and how it is showing through increasing your circular economy efforts that you're actually doing something to not only heal people, but also heal the earth. That is sustainability. That's a big concern for most CEOs around the world today. So here are the tools, best practices, tools that are for change managers, people who are in project manager, just working on putting together nothing but change management plans. Kotter's 8-step change model is one thing that has been around, time-tested. It works. You just have to know how to use it the right way. The Beckert-Harris change equation, another one that actually has been time-tested, has been around, and you need to learn how to use it if you don't. And it usually tells you, based on your current state and your future state, what type of change you need to implement changes. Measure the level of dissatisfaction. Make sure you have enough compelling vision and make sure that it's implementable, practical enough to actually make it happen over time. And that enough is going to be enough incentive to overcome the resistance to change. And there's always resistance to change, no matter what type of organization you're in. Becker's change formula is about understanding that there's a feedback mechanism between the level of dissatisfaction and the vision of where you want to go next in your future state as an organization. And that you need to make sure that that mechanism of feedback is positive so that you can overcome over time the resistance to change. If it's negative, it's always going to fail. And you want to make sure that you measure whether it's positive or negative, because you're never going to overcome resistance to change even if your compelling vision is strong enough. You lack credibility, or you don't have the right processes and systems, or the right skills or resources or funding in place to overcome resistance to change. These are all tools that are used by change managers. Here's another example of companies that would benefit the most in trying to rebuild the US economy. The big talk is we need to actually modernize the US infrastructure. And of course, right now, we're expecting this bill to be signed that will be somewhere between $3 trillion or more over the next 10 to 15 years to renew the US infrastructure. And by the way, today, the average grade that has been received for the US infrastructure is that of a C-. How can you actually justify that a number one, number two global economy is running on a C- transportation infrastructure? Bridges, roads, waterways, everything that you need to actually start creating that, increasing productivity. We're using technology that was used or implemented over 100 years ago. We need to modernize, and we need to modernize now. We've been overdue for this, and we have failing infrastructure. One example is this pedestrian bridge that just fell down last night in the middle of DC over the 295 highway. These are all things that need to be done. And these are companies that would benefit the most because they're going to get lots of new business from all of these infrastructure projects that need to be done across all 50 states of the union. ChargePoint, making charge stations for electric vehicles. They've been deploying them over time, But now there's going to be a lot more, and that's going to be the future. In the next 5 to 10 years, a lot more charge stations are going to be needed for all sorts of electric vehicles that will be entering the market. John Deere and Caterpillar, who are heavy equipment manufacturers for construction work, John Deere also provides farming equipment, and both are set to gain because all of these will grow by growing the infrastructure. Boring Company making new type of transportation systems for metropolitan areas, which include the Hyperloop. Right now, one of the early adopters is Las Vegas. Boring Company has been contracted to actually create a Hyperloop around the Las Vegas metro area. And these are all companies that are set to win even more because they're in the right segment that now will be in place for a few decades in order to modernize or update the U.S. transportation infrastructure. 8 reasons why people resist change. Understand that transformation, as I spoke earlier, always begin with people, and expect that the greatest challenge is to overcome that resistance to change. And it's very simple. That resistance to change is coming from people. Doesn't matter whether it's your colleagues, sometimes executives, sometimes senior managers, sometimes other workers, and they all need to be included in order to figure out why is it that they're fearing this type of change. But any change, and anyone will resist change because of any combination of these 8 different things. Number 1, you're worried about losing your status or your job security. Number 2, you're looking at poorly aligned reward systems and you're saying the wrong people are being rewarded for the wrong things, and now you need to reward based on newer things that are needed now to be in place. You're maybe surprised, or you have a fear factor of the unknown because you don't really know if this is going to work or not. There's some uncertainty. Peer pressure to protect the group, meaning everybody's going along, so you want to be the one that goes along with the group, and you're being peer pressure into just following with everybody else. Climate of mistrust, meaning your workers may not be trusting the executives or the other way around. Any of this is going to be reasons for resistance to change. Organizational politics, fear of failure, and then the last one is poor implementation or wrong timing. These are all things that are bound to happen, and you need to make sure that you know how to overcome, identify them, figure out who is concerned, and figure out ways to overcome that resistance to fears. And it would help if you had something like the predictive index. The predictive index is this behavior assessment that actually says anyone in your organization can be put into one of these 17 profiles. And not all profiles are equal because profiles can be tuned to specific tasks. The profiles on the right-hand side tend to resist change by nature because they avoid risk, any kind of risk, good or bad. The profiles on the left, they're risk takers. There's the likes that love to take risks. And, as long as they're calculated, and they see that there's reasonable risk and it's positive risk, they will take it. And then there's people in between. Well, if an organization is going to be doing both, a resilient organization by definition, by most experts, you need to be doing optimize at the same time that you explore. Not a choice. You need to continue to optimize on your strengths and continue to explore new things in case trying to figure out how to build a better future for your organization. And successful organizations that become leaders need to do both at the same time. Well, by doing this, you can then understand who are the right people with the right affinities to match them to the type of work they're going to be doing. So the profiles on the right are best for optimizing tasks. The people on the left are best for exploration, innovation, those kinds of things. And then the people that are in between are the ones that can go overlap between one or the other, or maybe divide themselves 50-50 across optimization and exploration. These are all things that you want you to do. One of the things that I want to say, if you want to actually take the predictive index and find out what your profile is, what your affinity is, let me know, because we can do this for free and that we can give you more information. So reach out to me and let me know that you're interested. I can point you in the right direction. 7 ways to boost business resilience. I spoke about that right now. Everybody is trying to increase the business resilience to increase the robustness of their business. And they need to do so across all aspects. So on the front end, they want to increase the desirability of their offering and everything they're doing in the market, and even brand awareness, have much higher brand awareness, and that it's a positive view of what you deliver in the market. On the backstage, you want to make sure that you increase your visibility, meaning supply chain, your suppliers, your partners, and everybody in the business that is actually producing the value that you're creating to distribute. You're actually making sure you understand visibility and how to measure it and make sure that it's going up. And then the profitability of your business is about looking at increasing the viability of your business. The more profitable your business is, the more people, the more positive view from your shareholders, your owners, and everyone outside the organization. And that's what you want to have in order to have a resilient business. All 3 of these have to go up. So you got to measure where you're at and say, this is where we're going to go next, and make sure that in your change management, you have initiatives that can improve across all 3 at the same time. So when you're talking about changes, it's not just a single swim lane, it is multiple swim lanes. And of course, you want to make sure that you're staggering all of this across things that are mostly about optimizing, which is on the right-hand side, versus exploring, and you have a good balance between optimizing and exploring in order for you to actually ensure that you have the right business model and that you're going in the right direction. But the 7 ways to boost your resilience are in these steps. Number 1, you want to set up a resilience nerve center. Make sure you have a clarity as to what is that war room where you're bringing people and who is going to be involved in monitoring things on a day-to-day basis to monitor to see what's happening to your resilience in real time or near real time. Be able to choose your leadership team as well. Simplify the organization. You got to make it flatter. Rethink your business model, because often it's about figuring out, do you need to readapt your business model given the changes in the market? Kind of like the Kodak example. And unlock your balance sheet. Realize that many of the things that you're going to talk about will require funding, because this is additional things that need to be funded so that they can be realized. You're not going to be able to turn something negative into a positive without work, and work needs to be funded. And accelerate digital transformation. That's what everybody has been doing, but also be able to figure out how to use new metrics to readjust what you do. And these are the 7 things that you need to do when you're implementing and trying to put together a change management plan in the way that you would deploy to increase positively the resilience of your business or your organization. And here's what I talk about, this regenerative pillar that I spoke about that is fairly new, that has the sustainability, social responsibility issue that is about not only continuing to reuse, reduce, recycle, but make sure that it makes business sense to do so, and be able to, at the same time, heal the people, heal the earth, heal your local communities where your business operates. And this is going to be emergence of new business models, even for existing businesses. And here's some examples. A brand new company called Loop, working on reusable packaging for things that you normally would ship. And they're partnering with lots of different companies, because lots of companies will, on a usual basis, part of their business model, they need to ship around the world when they sell, to deliver goods or things that they sell to customers. Nike making apparel out of recycled materials. HP making laptops and computers out of recycled materials. And Burger King selling their food and beverage on reusable packaging. These are all things that are happening today, and these are the leaders in the regenerative pillar because they're actually focusing on prioritizing sustainability as part of their purpose. They've been around, some of them have great reputations, but now they're trying to get even a better reputation by focusing and showing that they're willing to do the right things to heal the people, heal the earth. And some of the skills to, if you're wondering what you need to do to kind of like future-proof your skills, here's a survey from a global survey results from McKinsey that actually had responses from CEOs around the world. And they asked, what are the skills that are critical to your business so that they can continue to operate in the right way for the next 10 to 15 years. And here's what their response was. Project management is among the 6. Leadership, critical thinking, adaptability, digital skills, empathy. And actually what I would say, yes, project management is going to be there because changes are going to be your job security for project managers, but it's really going to be about managing changes to your projects and managing changes to your portfolio of projects. So I would focus on increasing your change management skills, specifically within project management. If you want to have longevity in your careers, focus on learning how to lead change within your organization. And that's a wrap. What I would like to do is defer any kind of questions because I don't think I have time. And Marcus, you can check me on this, but I think I'm over time. So I apologize for that. But I want to make sure, I want to thank all of you for paying attention. And if you have any questions that you want me to answer offline, you can either email me or you can connect with me on LinkedIn or you can follow me on Twitter. And if you are interested because you have a need to bring somebody like me who can help you plan changes that after multiple failed attempts, perhaps in implementing changes that stick within your organization, or you're interested in boosting the resilience or agility within your business, set up a free discovery call with me. You can contact me, you can connect with me, you can follow me, and let me know that you're interested in just having a chat. Be more than happy to discuss your current situation and maybe point you in the right direction and maybe discuss how I may be able to help you in helping you improve the resilience of your business or implement changes that lead to better agility, higher flexibility within your organization. So once again, I want to thank all of you. I also want to let you know that I will be publishing a post-event page. If you're interested in receiving a link, that post-event page will contain a video in addition to my entire slide deck. And if you have any questions, I'll be also point you to references where you can dig in deeper into some of the things that I briefly braced on today because of lack of time. But I want to make sure that if you want that, reach out to me and I will send you the link to that post-event page that I will set up. And you can either email me or connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know that you attended today's talk, and I will be happy to send you that link once the post-event page is ready. So with that, I want to thank all of you so much and look forward to a great day today with the symposium. Have a great day, enjoy, and also enjoy your rest of your week. Thank you so much. Take care.